Hello guys, Chris here, welcome back to another video. It is my friends, I'm gonna be testing the GeForce RTX 3050 8GB model because this is the desktop version of the card in Spider-Man Remastered. We are running it with the latest Nvidia drivers 516.94, which are optimized for this game. I am not overclocking the card. This is the Gigabyte Eagle model of it. Here in Tech Power-Ups GPU-Z, you can check out all of the GPU specs as usual. 8 gigs of GDDR6, 2560 CUDA cores released in 2022 this year, and over on the left I'm playing it with a Ryzen 9 5900X and 32 gigabytes of RAM to avoid CPU bottlenecks, but you should get around the same FPS if you pair it with like an i5-12400F for example, or a Ryzen 5 5600. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's quickly go through the settings. First, I'm playing at 1080p resolution, and we're also going to test higher resolutions, of course, TAA, anti-aliasing, and using the very high settings preset. I will just make a change here. Ambient occlusion is set to HBAO Plus by default, and I'll set it to SSAO because HBAO Plus is actually a little bit bugged at the moment in this game. So let's do this.
I'm already late.
I'm
I should
already
get to the lab ASAP.
I am not late, Spider-Man. You are. Okay. Let's go to the big building right here, right away, and see the FPS from above the city, looking down at it. It's usually very, very intensive, and right now we're getting very high FPS, but, you know, we're licking walls here, so that doesn't count. Come on, Spider-Man, go up there, thank you. Okay, so looking at the city from here, that's actually really good. Okay, I was expecting it to be a little bit worse than it actually is. Alright, I like it. So it still drops from 60 frames per second, and we still gotta go to that huge park area of the map, which is very, very intensive, but so far I am liking what I am seeing here. This is very high settings after all. Max settings, basically, aside from RayTracing and that HBAO Plus, which is not working at the moment. And also, if you're running a 3050, chances are you are also running a 1080p monitor, so 60 plus FPS most of the time is pretty damn good. Over here it's still getting around 60 as well. It might drop here and there, as you can see there, 56, but I don't think that's a huge problem here, guys. I mean, I certainly was expecting it to run just a little bit slower than it actually is right now. Wow, this is very impressive for a 3050. Down here it's also usually very intensive. And it's not intensive on 3050. What the hell is happening? Why is this running so well? Wow! I am impressed. I am really impressed. Maybe it's because I just tested the 1050 Ti yesterday. That was the last video that I made in this game. Now seeing it run so well at 1080p very high is just beautiful and amazing. Let's climb this and take a look at the city from here. Okay, it drops. Alright, it drops into the 50s at times. But it's not really that big of an issue, honestly. I can't really feel the slowdowns all that much here. Okay, it's dropping slightly more in this area than back there. Yeah, 50s, mid-50s, that's what I expected, alright. From the 3050 here, we got the first stutter of the day as well, by the way. Don't know if you catch that, but yeah, it was a little bit noticeable, but not a problem overall. And the VRAM usage is actually quite high. This game is just awesome to look at. I love to benchmark it just because I get to swing around the city and look at these awesome graphics. Sometimes, you know, other times I test like 1030 and it's terrible, but yeah. This is great, guys, at 1080p resolution, and we still got that DLSS support, of course, so maybe we can actually get 60 plus at all times with that setting enabled, and it does make the game look a little bit sharper than at 1080p using TAA, so yeah, that's definitely what we're gonna do right now. Let's do DLSS, not on performance, on quality, and sometimes you actually need to restart the game to fully apply the settings. I don't think we need to do that here because it's getting way more FPS now, but I will do it anyways, just to make sure. Yeah, we're getting the same FPS after the restart, so we didn't really need to do that. I think you only need to restart it whenever you run out of VRAM, because then it will allocate some of the textures to the RAM, and it doesn't swap it back to the VRAM, which is very weird whenever you test lower resolutions and stuff like that in DLSS. Let's go. Down here, now we're getting a little bit more FPS for sure. It's noticeable, and it's still looking fantastic. I mean, it might look a little bit better than native resolution. Sometimes that's the case with DLSS and FSR 2.0. These are wonderful technologies. And yeah, it's definitely sharper. I'm not sure if the detail is better or the same as native, but you don't really lose anything by enabling DLSS. You should definitely do it if you have an RTX GPU in this game. I've seen that maybe in like some of these spider webs that you throw around, you can see some artifacting using DLSS if you pause the image, you know, but it's alright. You're not gonna pause it. It's gonna look fantastic anyways. So, alright, let's take a look at the entire city from here. This angle. Yeah, okay, dropping down into the lower 60s now, but it's still not a problem, guys. Very, very good. It still doesn't drop from 60 FPS. I think we can actually forget about testing high settings because it's not needed, at least at 1080p. It's very, very smooth, although there are a few variations there in the frame time graph which I can't really feel. Maybe it's because I'm playing on 60 Hz and on a higher refresh rate monitor it will be more noticeable, but I don't really know about that. If you lock the FPS to 60, it's gonna be even smoother, of course. And you're also gonna save a little bit of power because, well, the GPU doesn't need to work as hard. So yeah, win-win scenario right there. I recommend you to lock the FPS, okay? Especially because you don't really need high refresh rate experiences here, I think, in my opinion. It's not a first-person shooter, so yeah, makes sense, right? So I'm trying to find the big park area once again, but sometimes I just get lost around these buildings. Also, we need to check it out down there as well. There we go. Oh my god, 130 FPS. That's insane. Oh, did I see 92% GPU utilization there for a second? Is the CPU bottlenecking the 3050 here? Wow, that's crazy, actually. Oh, we're almost there, finally. 63 frames per second minimum there. Looking at the entire park area, which is super intensive, as I told you. Let's go down here now. See the bushes from above and the trees. Yeah, this is not a problem, guys. I haven't seen it drop from 60 frames. Let's stop it here. Take a look around us. Really gorgeous, really smooth as well. It's great. Great experience here with 3050 at 1080p resolution. Wow. Now I'm gonna test it out at 1440p resolution. I don't think we need to restart it once again, but I will do it anyways. Oh my gosh, look at this, guys. 40 frames per second at times, 30s. Okay, if you stop down here, you get close to 60 FPS, but if you are spider webbing around, it gets really rough. It's still a smooth-ish experience and a playable one. Don't get me wrong, especially if you lock the FPS to 30 for that consistent experience, it's gonna become a better experience than like a PS4, for example, for sure, and even like a PS4 Pro, I believe. I'm not sure what resolution that runs on, though. But yeah, it's way rougher than at 1080p resolution, that's for sure, and that's to be expected as well. We were seeing some slight drops into the 50s at 1080p, so it's normal that at 1440p we get around 40 to 50 on average. That's in line with other games as well, so no problems there in terms of scaling. And I think it's probably because I was just playing at super high FPS, but 30 frames is not really feeling all that good. It's still responsive, don't get me wrong, and if you get used to it, it's actually great in this game. It feels alright. But, yeah, I think I would go for the 1080p experience in this game with the 3050. It's much, much better, of course. Should we also try some RayTracing a little bit later? I'm gonna do that. Yeah, ooh, boy, that's a massive drop there into the lower 30s. Wait, okay, let's stand here, take a look at the city from here. Okay, you definitely will need some DLSS. I think it might drop from 30 frames per second in some certain scenarios, guys, which is kind of bad. Yeah, look at that, 29 there, finally dropping. So either overclock the card a little bit to always stay above 30 frames per second, or just enable DLSS. I would go with the latter. Alright, sorry to ruin your party, people. All good here. Oh, that's... Are there some beers inside of this? No? Okay. Alright. I'm sorry again. Alright. Oh, spider bug, come on. Alright, alright. Oh boy, look at that. 30. Down into the 30s. Let's enable some DLSS now and see how it does. I see that some textures are taking a really long time to load. Look at that. And also the OSD, the on-screen display, is also taking a really long time to load. Thank you very much for loading now. Okay, and let's spiderweb around town for a little bit. Let's see if it is a 60 plus FPS experience. So far, it actually is. That's incredible. So those of you with 1440p monitors in the 3050 can still enjoy the game absolutely fine at these settings, guys. It looks amazing like this, way better than 1080p, way sharper and more detailed, and it still runs very, very smoothly. You know, it's probably still gonna drop from 60 FPS, but once again, I would be fine with 60 FPS on average, with drops into like the 40s or so, and this is way better than that. This is a great experience here. Okay, this is one of the biggest... Come on, Spider-Man, please throw your webs around. Why don't you do that? Yeah, anyways, let's see. Okay, that's awesome. That is actually awesome. 60s here. Wow. I'm impressed. DLSS, it makes all of a difference here. Damn. Okay, 53 there. Can't really complain though, guys. I mean, this is not a card meant for 1440p gaming these days, and it's performing really well at 1440p. And this is still very high settings, remember that. This is still almost maxed out, and it's getting 60 plus FPS most of the time. I guess if we actually started counting the FPS here in this part of the city, we'd get closer to 60 FPS on average instead of the 77 that we're seeing right now. But this, I can't deny, this is really, really good performance. Let's actually check it out around here. The streets, not a problem still. It's pretty much the same thing as we've seen so far. Here we go. Lots of people chilling at the park. And then comes the spider boy with 60 FPS and 3050 around here. That's very impressive, guys. Not really dropping around the trees. It's getting around the same FPS as the other city there. It's the same city, but the other part of it. Wow, I mean... I could play the game like this. I would actually enjoy it better at 1440p with DLSS and very high settings than at 1080p with DLSS and very high settings at always above 60 FPS. Just because that extra visual fidelity does make a big difference, especially in a game like this. Okay, so 4K is definitely out of the realms of the RTX 3050, and we are gonna enable balanced DLSS right away at this res, otherwise it's probably not gonna be playable, alright? And honestly, guys, at balanced DLSS, it looks like native 4K anyways.
Gotta get to work.
Look at this. Wow, I'm actually using a 4K monitor, and it looks amazing like this. I don't really feel the need to use native resolution or quality DLSS. Balanced DLSS at this res looks awesome already. And it actually gets pretty alright frames per second. I mean, it's getting around the same FPS as like the 1050 Ti, maybe a little bit better than the 1050 Ti, but that card was at 1080p, FSR quality, and the high settings as well, instead of very high, so... It's not bad. I thought that was playable for sure, and this is better than that. Maybe it's actually the same as medium with the 1050 Ti and quality FSR, which is amazing. Wow. Looks awesome, getting down like to 30 frames per second minimum there on the 1% lows, but I think I didn't really see it dropping from 40 FPS. And in the city area, it gets even higher. It touches 60 frames per second. With 4K visual fidelity. I'm not going to say it's 4K resolution, because DLSS is on, of course, but it's 4K visual fidelity still. It looks awesome. It performs awesome. I mean, it's fantastic for a 3050 to be delivering these FPS for sure. I am very impressed about that. 60 FPS down here. What is happening here? I heard someone... Oh, this is one of them bastards. This is one of them bastards. Come on, can I... Oh no, I just... He just wanted to i5 us. Alright. 5 XP. Nice. That's interesting. I actually thought he wanted to kill me because sometimes a couple of guys will come at you with guns and start shooting at you. But of course I'm playing it on the easiest difficulty so they don't stand a chance. Alright, we're here. Let's take a look at it. 40s. Not bad. Doesn't even drop into the 30s. At least here. Let's go down here though because that's very intensive. As we saw previously, we got some huge drops. Yeah, okay. Closer to 40 frames per second. But it's not dropping into the 30s. Now it is. Okay, into the higher 30s. But, I mean, this is better than a console experience, I think. At least the PS4 Pro. For sure. 100%, right? Props to the developers for optimizing this game so well to the point where it's actually playable like this on the 3050. Wow, almost 60 average. With an overclock, you could actually get 60 average, I think. I'm speechless. I can't even talk right now. Next up, I want to test it out at 1080p resolution and RayTracing. I'm not going to test RayTracing at higher resolutions because, well, it's just not gonna work very well, honestly. And quality DLSS here. Let's enable that. I will actually enable it on high instead of very high, and high is actually the lowest here, as you can see. Let's restart it. Okay, this is actually feeling above 60. Oh, that's nice. Please show up on screen display. Come on. Is it actually above 60 or am I dumb? If I'm dumb, I will actually cut this off of the video. Come on, please. Okay, thank you. Alright, thanks. Look at this. It is definitely above 60 FPS. As I told you, I am a pro. I actually am a professional benchmarker. Yeah. Anyways, look at this. It's still pretty good. It's not 100 FPS anymore, like we were seeing previously, I think. But now we got some ray traced reflections. And yeah, you can definitely tell that they're enabled here. Let's go to one of those glass buildings. Oh, down into the 60s now, probably because of that little vegetation there. Is the water intensive, actually? I'm not really sure. I don't think there are ray traced reflections in the water. Yeah, they disappear, as you can see. Okay, so no reflections here, so it's not intensive. That's actually smart, because there isn't a ton of water anyways, and if they don't put ray tracing on the water, it's gonna get way higher FPS. So I like that they did that. Let's go down here, though. See the cars. Yeah, the thing about ray tracing on high is that you get a ton of noise, especially on cars. Look at that. It doesn't look very good, but, well, it is enabled, and it's still above 60 FPS. That's actually incredible. Yeah, these on high don't really look all that good. Or maybe it's just the 1080p resolution, because it's way, way lower than 1440p and 4K, and then the reflections look kind of weird. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would enable it here at 1080p resolution. If you like the look, go for it. It's still buttery smooth, actually, above 60 FPS. But where ray tracing really shines is at very high and 1440p with a higher end GPU. That's to be expected, but I'm actually impressed to see that it's doing a much better job than the 2060. Of course, the 2060 is a first generation RTX GPU. This is a second generation RTX. So the ray tracing technology here and the ray tracing cores are actually way more efficient than the previous gen. What about over here? Okay, now it drops a little bit, but not a problem, guys. That's been it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I think I would just play it at 1440p, quality DLSS, and the very high settings, or at 1080p using the same settings, because well, most of you will have 1080p monitors anyways. So yeah, enjoy the game with your 3050. Don't forget to smash that like button if you are kind enough to do so. And maybe consider subscribing. I have a lot more videos on the 3050 already, and I'll keep doing them, of course, and in a ton of more GPUs. So catch you guys in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.